And that wonderful pause while we're waiting for YouTube Live to spool. You know, it ends up on the recording anyway. There we go. Got it. And just like that, bada boom, bada bing, we are live on a Tuesday night. It is April 11th, 2023, and this is Triple T number 67. Oh, still seems like yesterday when I was totally concerned about making 7 or 6. And now I've got 6 and 7 combined together, 67. Woo! And for those of you on YouTube, thank you for joining in. I appreciate every single one of you. Do me a favor, if you're live or watching the recording, do all the fun YouTube smashing buttons, the subscribe and the bell and the like and the comments and tippity tap and the comments and all the above. And check out my website. I'd like some feedback. Let me know what you think. The website is thetswb.com. thetallskinnywhiteboy.com. That is I, and I am me. Yes, I should probably have some more caffeine. Also, for those of you that are on the call, if you have any questions you come up with for the second half, feel free to type them in now. Type them in now would be the type them in now, because I know. I forgot to type in the command, please. And questions. Yes, I am an amazing typist. I'm not sure what that's called. I type at the speed of smell with the air flowing back and forth. In fact, my wife watched me type for a while and said she had to leave because watching me type was too painful for her. Oh no, she's one of those where 900 words a second with 0 issues while she's sitting, looking, talking to you and listening to a recording. I, on the other hand, feel like I'm just learning how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb. Okay, anybody got any ahas, epiphanies, fun stuff that they would like to share from the last 7 days? Yes, no? Bueller, Bueller? Sometimes no news is good news. We all had a nice boring week of surviving and made it here. Yes, no? Okay. Well then, 3 minutes into it and it's time to jump in the protocols. Ugh. And for those of you that noticed on Facebook, this week's topics: memory protocols, clashing values and criteria, and tips and tricks for realtors. Memory protocols. I forgot what I was going to say. Bada bing. Working with college and high school and all the above students, I've found a couple of little memory tricks that if you don't have any outside issues, I'm currently dealing with some brain fog, have been for a while, and turns out I may have a little black mold poisoning, which would explain some stuff. So if you're not dealing with stuff like that, these still work. I have been using them. One of my favorite memory protocols, we just call the House of Memories. Has anybody heard of this technique, this protocol? Well, for those that haven't, I'm not surprised that people on the call are like, "Mhm." So you'll be able to add in and support this if I miss anything or if you have any advancements on it. In the easiest way to explain it, we've all lived in a house that even today, if it's not the house you grew up in, you could go back to that house, walk through it with the lights out, and know where all the little nooks and crannies are. If you've lived in your own house long enough, you could tell somebody exactly where to find a certain item. Go down the hallway to the second bedroom. When you walk in, turn to the right, take 3 steps. On the shelf, about eye height, is a blue book. This is in essence what you end up wanting to do with all of the memories that you want to keep track of. You create the vision of your house in your head, and each item that you want to remember, you put in the appropriate place in the house. A place for everything and everything in its place. And when I'm working with clients, I will typically ask them, okay, so where would you keep information about a recipe for cookies? They're like, well, in the kitchen. Where would you keep information about how to drive a car? Typically in the garage. Where would you keep information about your ex? In the sewer system. Oh, but when you start analyzing where it would be appropriate, where would be the first place that you would look in your house for that information, if it were a physical, tangible item, you start placing these items in and around in your memory house. And when it comes time to recall these memories, you now have the ability to go, oh, what was the name of my dog? Oh, that would be a childhood memory. I always kept them in my first bedroom in the house, which was second floor, up the steps, go around the corner, and do a big horse. Up there it is, Tawny. And I've had a couple of college students that have gotten so good at this that it impressively offends me, because they've gotten to the point now where they can picture in their head the textbook that they're being tested, the information, the test that they're taking. They read the question on the test and they go, that was in that textbook, which I would put into the library on the 5th shelf on the right-hand side, 3rd book from the left. And in their mind's eye, they can walk into the library, walk up to that, pull the book down, open it up, and flip to the page the information is on. Yeah, same look I had when I first heard that. I was like, oh, you ninja bad. Oh, very impressive. You make me angry in best way. But I've also found that it helps people can actually rebuild a lot of these memories and things on the backside when they start making sense of where those memories should be. One of the theories I have is we take all of our memories and we don't think about it. We just throw them all into the living room. Everything's in a big pile. We know where it is. I mean, we experienced it, but we should be able to find it. It's in there somewhere, as far as I know. Yes.
How do you make it functional? Or are you thinking like just all your memories?
Yes. If you accept the fact that all of your memories were created and put somewhere, and if you start allowing your mind, your inner self, to go, as long as we're going to build this house, we're going to lay out our property, and we're going to have all of these memories that we need to sort out. Once we build the hierarchy, we can have our subconscious file those things where they need to be while we're asleep or while we're, functioning. And the more attention we pay to new incoming items as to where they should go, they become even easier to recall.
That's actually different than what I thought you were going to say. I thought, is this related to the Roman room? Do you know in any way?
What was that?
Oh, do you know if this technique is related to the Roman room in any way? Because that's what I thought you were going to be talking about. They sound similar, but they are not the same.
Having a hard time hearing you related to.
I don't eat myself. Do you know if this technique is related to the Roman room in any way? That's what I thought we were going to talk about, but they sound similar, but they're not quite the same, I don't think.
Good. Then what, if you don't mind, would you explain your version so that we can, because I don't care which one people adopt and utilize, as long as they have something. Most of the people, when I bring this up, have never thought of creating any type of filing system or protocol for memories, especially for recall.
So the Roman room, it's also called, I think, like the Loki technique or something is the older name, as in like location kind of thing. So you take a place that you're very familiar with, that basically, like the back of your hand kind of thing. So it could be your childhood house, it could be something like that. Mm-hmm. And basically you go, so it's a lot of magicians use this, a lot of memory experts use this. So you have different places where you can put things that you need to remember. So, and then what you do is you put them in order. So you have a certain way you walk through that house as well. And so, for instance, if you need to memorize a deck of cards, you would memorize something to do with that deck of cards, visualize it in each place as you walk around. So I like to use my childhood church that I went to. Mm-hmm. So as I walk in, let's say the first card is the 3 of hearts. I might imagine 3 human hearts being hung up in the on the coat rack, because the coat rack's the first thing that I see when I come in. So you come up with something that's very bizarre, and as you walk around, you see that and you say, "Oh yeah, the 3 of hearts was the very first card," and then you can continue and go, like, maybe the next is the 2 of spades. So maybe I see two shovels digging in the hall, digging up the carpet or something. You know, like, the more outlandish you can make it, the better. And then, but the room is permanent. And so that might be how I memorize it the first time. But then when I need to memorize something in a completely different set of facts or different things, I can swap out the image with something else that is completely unrelated.
Awesome.
And then the other thing you can take advantage of with all of this is, I'm sure you're familiar with the boundary effect. So the boundary effect says anytime you go through a doorway, your memory resets itself, basically. And so that's why if you walk through a door to go pick something up, you might forget what it was you were looking for. So you get in the room and you say, what was it that I came in here to look for? If you walk back through the doorway, often the thing you're looking for will come right back to your mind. And so, but you can also do this with, if there's memories that you want to forget, you can put them in a room and then walk through the door. And now you're in a completely different set of memories. So, like I said, not quite the same thing, but it feels like the areas of the brain you might be tapping might be similar.
Cool. So, and that segues perfectly into one of the other techniques that I had learned was for short-term stuff like that is to create outlandish stories utilizing the information you want to remember. Instead of trying to remember just the details, if you put the details into some crazy off-the-wall storyline, it stands out because it's crazy, but it includes the details that you needed to remember. The other one is to add music to it, or a tempo or a sing-song to it. And Vin pointed this out. He goes, how many of you have a book that you absolutely love, you probably read more than once? And the crowd, bunch of hands come up, and he goes, how many of you can say back all the words on one page? And hands go down. How many of you have a favorite song? How many of you can sing all the words to your favorite song? Hand stayed up, and he goes, the average song has about 280 words, which is about the amount of words on an average page in a book. And yet you can remember all the words to the song, but you can't remember all the words on a page in a book. And that's because music and melody have been put to the words in a song. And I used to do this when I was a kid in school. I'd learned that at a young age. And that's why they put the ABCs to that melody. When you have that tempo and that melody, kids can learn their ABCs really easy because there's a song to it. Now, this will go back a little bit, but how many remember Schoolhouse Rock? What an awesome, ingenious way for kids to learn school stuff. Again, they're putting information and training and stuff that you want to remember to a melody. Now, if you could combine all three of those together and sing an outlandish story about where you stored your information inside of the house you grew up in, hey now.
What kind of things? Like I'm not quite grasping it.
That's okay.
Like if you want to go to the grocery store, or if you have to remember like notes for a test. Like I don't know how to make it functional.
Okay.
That's part I'm missing.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Okay.
This information that you just got, if you were to use the house protocol, what room would you put this information in?
My office, maybe?
Your office.
Okay.
And if you were to put it in your office, where would it be in your office?
Ah, damn,
If it was tangible, if all of a sudden it appeared in a booklet or whatever,
okay.
where would you put it in your office?
So then in a book on a shelf.
In a book on a shelf. What color book might that be?
Okay, purple.
What number of shelf would you put it on?
First.
First shelf. And which book might that be in order?
Third.
Third.
But now I feel like I just made up a whole bunch of stuff.
Doesn't matter. Now, when it comes time to recall that, you would be, where would I have put that information? I would have put it in my office. It probably would have been in a purple book. I would have put it on the first shelf. Oh, there it is. And the memory comes popping right back in because you've made a routine of where you would put that tangibly. Now, in the event of going to the grocery store and you wanted to remember something, where would you mentally put that list if it were in your house?
On my kitchen counter.
On your kitchen counter. And if you were to place it on your kitchen counter, what color or colors of paper would you use to make it more memorable?
Probably just white with lines on it.
Okay.
Long notepad.
And if you got to the grocery store and realized that you had left your tangible, you could actually go back in your mind's eye, walk through the house to the kitchen counter, and see that white note there. And then using some of the other techniques where, as you're writing it down, you could make a little song about what you're going to make. You could, so these are some of the
Techniques.
The different techniques for figure out ways to instill memory patterns.
Thank you for clarifying.
And I appreciate the questions because I'm sure somebody out there or somebody watching the recording would have the same question. So anybody got any other questions or inputs or techniques that they could share with people on memorization hacks and protocols? And
I can just tell you, DJ, that's a great idea. And since I joined a little late today, I'm not sure if you mentioned that the size of the picture. Usually when we make picture life size and we see through our eyes, we can remember things more vividly. And also, like kids who are the best at spelling, they make really large letters and they're right there in front of their eyes. So they can remember. And so that's kind of similar what happens with trauma. When people who have PTSD, they come back from war and they have large pictures. They're in the pictures, and people who don't have issues and they don't remember so well, they can dissociate and they see them inside of the pictures. It goes for both ways, for things we want to remember consciously, or for things we don't want to remember, but they're still there.
awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Elijah's got his hand up. How you doing, brother?
Hello, can you hear me all right?
We can.
Good, because I'm actually on mobile today, so just making sure the connection's clear. I didn't get the question or what answers were shared, but I just heard about spelling, and one of the other things about spelling words and remembering how to spell words in particular is the chunking of the letters. So even if you think about like phone numbers, you know, it's the area code is 3, and then you'd have another 3, and then you'd have 4. Whereas if I just roll off 10 digits without chunking them, it's much harder to remember. So if I say 716-114-7825, that's much easier to remember than 786-114-324 without chunking and making the gaps, right? So it's the same with spelling, is that if you chunk the spelling of the word into groups of 3 or 4 letters at the most, it'll be much easier to recall that when needed.
Super cool. Yeah, the first part is on memory protocols, and so I'm just sharing as many protocols as we can to help people memorize stuff and recall items when needed.
Okay, so with recall, creating stories and adding emotion to the stories helps a lot. That's the trick I use. Also, rhyming, if and when possible, adding rhyme makes things much easier to remember, because the unconscious mind loves rhythm, repetition, and rhyme. The unconscious mind loves rhythm, repetition, and rhyme. The unconscious mind loves rhythm, repetition, and rhyme, and so on and so forth. So, or use as many of those little hacks, if you like, to help you remember stuff easier.
Awesome, thanks. I've heard that used as well for remembering people's names when you're introduced to them, where you look at them and you pick out something about them, a feature about them that stands out, and then you make a funny little story in your head about that feature and their name, and then you do a little chant like you did there with a little rhythm to it. So all sorts of interesting ways to help remember stuff.
Yeah, I'm often like that. You know, when you meet people for the first time, and like oh, hey, when you stick your hand out and shake hands. As soon as the handshake breaks, the name that they told me is like gone. Right. So what I've got into the habit of doing, especially meeting people, is not asking them their name and just talking with them and having a conversation with them. And when I feel that rapport, that, oh, we have this in common and we have that in common, and we've actually taken the first step to getting to know the person, only then will I ask for their name. I'll be like, oh, this is Sean, and Sean also likes motorcycles like I do. And that's how I'm going to remember Sean, because I remember we talked about motorcycles or whatever. So it's often beneficial when meeting people to, when it comes to names in particular, is not ask the name straight away. Ask it once you have rapport already. It'll be much easier to recall.
Super cool. Lenora?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I was just going to ask, with that chunking thing, that kind of reminds me. So if you do too many chunks and you overwhelm yourself, or too larger chunks, I know it leads to spontaneous amnesia. Because I've got a really small chunk size, so I get spontaneous amnesia a lot. Any recommendations on how to overcome that part?
Wait, Holly, sorry, I didn't understand the question. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. So because in NLP says we all have chunk sizes. I have a really small chunk size, and so when people give me a lot of information, I'm trying to parse it into small chunks. And if they go really, really fast, it's too much. It's overwhelm, and it leads to I go into trance, and it leads to spontaneous amnesia. So any recommendation on how to be able to do that in a way that doesn't lead to spontaneous amnesia?
It's not something that will just, I mean, it could happen with a session, but it's something that I think it's going to be like a practice, you know, like meditation is a practice, right? You start off and you're just, you know, trying to do it for 1 minute and then eventually 2 minutes and 5 minutes and so on. So in the same way, it's practicing or getting someone to like pair up with them and get them to give you information and see how many chunks, just find out your baseline, you know? Okay, I remembered the first 3 chunks, but then the 4th one, I had the spontaneous amnesia, right? So then you're going to practice trying to get the 4th chunk. And then, you know, once you're comfortable with that, it's just like lifting weights in the gym. You just add 1 more each time, and it won't get more difficult because by definition, you're only adding 1 additional chunk each time. And so it's always going to be just as easy or as difficult as the first time you try, but you'll be getting better over time. I would say just practice, right? And the thing about it is, once you start to overcome that, your body and your unconscious mind will start to know how to overcome spontaneous amnesia anyway as a side effect. And so then if you want to remember the stuff that you had forgotten, then you won't forget it as often going forwards. It's like it's like your unconscious mind is like, oh, I know how to not forget. Well, I know how to. So for me, when it happens for me is I'm pretty good with sequence, but if someone changes the syntax or the sequence of it, and they give me the 3rd chunk first and the 2nd chunk 4th, and they mix up, then it really messes me up, which is why the non-linear language patterns work so well, right? But yeah, I think it's just a matter of practice. I don't know if anyone else has any advice on that subject.
Thank you for that, Elijah. Another one, remember, I think it was last week or the week before when I was talking about people that talk too fast? Do you remember what to do with them?
My mind just blanked. Tell us again.
When you get people that talk too fast, especially with stuff like that, where you're trying to pay attention, but they're just rattling on, you do a hard stop and you go, wait. I had a question about that first part that you were talking about. It was really important. What was it you were talking about again? And you force them to rewind. And you put in there, it was really important. I really liked it. You were just going so fast, I couldn't remember what the question was. What were you talking about again? And a lot of times with the speed talkers, they'll be like, I don't remember. You're like, oh, yeah, I hate it when I can't. When you talk so fast, it's hard for me to keep up, and you got so much good stuff coming out. So if I do this, I got a question. Could you stop? And then that'll let you parse down, get your small chunks. And if you ask questions about them, echo talk, stuff like that, with that, that'll also help you plant those micro chunks where they need to belong. It also teach the person that you're speaking with that, sorry, I don't track auctioneer, so you're gonna have to speak to me like normal level. Does that make sense? Lenora had a question on and off, not enough.
Yeah, possibly. I know what the name, and I never heard that about forgetting the name once the handshake breaks, which is very, very interesting. But to say it within 6 seconds, to use it immediately and quite literally echo it as it comes out. So that way it's reinforcing it. And that was the, hi, my name's Jim. Oh, Jim. Okay, good to meet you, Jim. Nice to talk with you. And get that out and then create those those other or use those other techniques that everybody had mentioned, which were really helpful.
Cool. Anybody else, or we're good on this one? I love this stuff. That's why we do this. All right. Well, if we're good on that, then clashing values and criteria. The fun of dealing with humans in their natural environment. And one thing that Dr. David points out when teaching values and criteria is the easiest way to get rid of somebody is to figure out what their values and criteria are and violate them. But what do we do when we're dealing with people and we start getting upset, angry, hurt, and we realize it's not bothering them at all? And I was working with somebody on this, and the download came that their values and criteria are not matching up to our values and criteria. The difference is we're the ones that are getting violated, and we're the ones that have to deal with it. Now, if it's some schmuck on the road that we don't know, it's real easy to go, off with you. When it comes to people close to us, neighbors, friends, especially family, that can be a little more challenging. And we have to take the introspect, especially those of us that are in the change work field. We realize that when we feel that energy coming up, that's a great little place to look inside and go, what is it about what they did that got to me? Why did it get to me? How long do I want it to get to me? Are they doing it with malice, or are they just doing it because that's who they are, because they're freaking human? And sometimes you just have to accept the fact that scorpions do what scorpions do, and that's just who they are. Other times you can have the communication opportunity to let them know that, hey, guess what? We think differently. That's your values and criteria. These are mine. And you can decide if that's a topic that you want to focus on or walk away from. And Elijah's got his hand up.
Hello again.
There we go.
So, TJ, based on what you just said, three things come up for me. One, are we talking about one, establishing your own boundaries so that other people know not to violate them? Are we talking about two, being able to create rapport and find something to agree on with someone who you fundamentally disagree with so that you can work together in spite of your differences? Or are we talking about three, recognizing your own things that trigger you and using that for personal development?
And the answer would be yes.
Right, so all of those.
Yes.
Okay, so I have things to say about all three of those, but I don't want to hog the microphone, and so I will let other people go first. And with like with which, because each one is a discussion in and of itself. So which one you want to go with first?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because you're absolutely correct. All three of those are options, and as we know, a number of people that haven't had the training and exposure that we have probably didn't even realize that there were the three options.
Right.
And,
yeah, that's possible.
Yeah. So go ahead and I know it's late for you, so I want you to jump in and share with us.
Okay. So let's start with boundaries. Okay. If someone is violating your criteria and values and they don't know that they're doing it, they're just being themselves, or just, they seem to be just kind of happy-go-lucky in whatever it is they're saying, and it is upsetting you, then I would suggest that you confront them on it, but not in an aggressive or angry way, much rather a very matter-of-fact kind of way. Like, hey, you said this thing and I don't like that. Or, hey, you said, there was, let's say somebody's like, I'm a large guy, okay? I'm like 300 pounds and 6 foot tall, and I'm a big lad, right? But I don't like when people call me big man. Hey, big man, how you doing? I don't like that, right? So sometimes when people say, hey, big man, or whatever, and they don't mean anything by it, right? If anything, it's a compliment almost to say, hey, you've grown up big, you're eating well, you're doing all right, you must be. But I just turn around and say to them, not in an aggressive way or an angry way, say, hey, I don't like being called big man. If you don't mind, just don't call me that in the future. And you should say it very matter of fact, very flat, no emotion to it. If you get aggressive or angry in what you're communicating to the other person, then you can end up in a much worse place. So I would say with boundaries, just say it very matter of fact, keep it flat, keep it simple. Does anyone want to add to that?
I think the key part there is how much are you going to be around them? Did they do it out of lack of knowledge or malice? And like you said, the ability to inform them instead of attack them is a great way to present that.
Right. Yeah. So you're just stating a preference, right? You're not offended or anything, you're just stating a preference. So the second one was, let's say, you fundamentally disagree with someone, okay? Their values and criteria are completely different, in opposite, in fact, to your values and criteria. Let's take the classic example of like politics, and you have your Trump supporter and you have your anti-Trump person, okay? And these two are never going to see eye to eye. What do you do in that situation? You do, Kendrick Cleveland, one of my mentors, said, you do what's called the 1 + 100% rule. And that is, you find the 1% of what they're saying that you can agree with, and then you zoom in, back that 1 point 100%. And it's just enough to create a bridge. So let's say, for example, coming back to the politics example, you've got this Trump supporter and this anti-Trump person, right? And the Trump supporter is going on and giving it like, this is the greatest president we ever had, and da 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 da. And the anti-Trump person is getting slowly more and more triggered, but he knows that I need to work with this guy, and we need to have a working relationship going forwards. I can't just, I can't just tell him that he's completely wrong, because we're going to end up getting up on the wrong foot. So what you would do is you would say something to the effect of, do you know, I have to be honest with you. I'm a Democrat and Trump's not my favorite person. But I will say this. He had a charisma and a character that got people up in arms about the issues that were important to him. And I do hope that one day we get a leader of the Democrats that can get the people animated and into it and into the discussions and the debates the same way Trump did. Right? So what you're doing is you're not validating their position, nor are you saying that they are wrong, but you are taking an example of something that they approve of and saying, I like this one particular quality, and I can respect that one particular quality. And you're using that to then build a bridge going forwards. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? So if someone just says stuff that just makes you cringe, find the 1% that you can agree with and back it 100%. Okay? Thirdly, if you're getting triggered and you recognize, it's hard sometimes to recognize that, oh, this thing, I mean, you recognize it afterwards, like, oh yeah, that had me triggered. But when it comes to like personal development, a lot of times we don't want to dive into our own shortcomings, if I can call them that. Apologies, there's a printer going off in the office next to me. So a lot of times we don't want to talk about our own shortcomings, but it is important for personal growth. The things that upset you, the things that don't feel right, the things that trigger you somewhat, they are definitely worth investigating. And as someone who has done a lot of self-work over the years using hypnosis and therapy and stuff, I highly recommend to anyone to just, even if you don't want to do it professionally, you can just find a good friend that you trust and just talk about it. Like, hey, so-and-so, I was in the, in the cafeteria and this person said that to me and I felt really triggered. And, your friends will listen to you. And sometimes it's not so much about telling them what happened, but more about hearing yourself say it out loud so you can figure out where you yourself are coming from and what happened. I think all forms of personal growth are great. And anytime you find something that is a potential entry point into healing or removal of stress or growing, then it's definitely worth investigating. And that's kind of what I have to say on the 3 subjects.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. That took a load off mine. Got a lot covered there.
You're welcome, bro. You can send me the check in the mail.
Yes, I'll be sure and do that. One other one I was going to add in there is, especially those of us as agents of change, and whether it's our own situation or helping clients through stuff like this, is analyzing what was the values and criteria that got hit on. What bugged us the most, in figuring out where it came from, why is it important, and how important is it going forward. Some of the stuff, you've had since childhood, and it still bugs the snot out of you until you sit back and analyze it and go, well, that was important back then, but why is it important to me now? Is it because of repetition? It's always been important to me and I just had a knee-jerk reaction? Or is it really worth the energy today? And sometimes you'll come to the conclusion that that was just a knee-jerk reaction because I grew up with it. And I didn't even realize that it bugged me that much. I actually had to go back and dig down and analyze what was it about what they were saying that torqued me off. You'd be amazed at the amount of people that I've worked with, that I've dealt with, even before I got into this type of work. Even when I was bartending and I was a bar stool therapist. But you'd hear, oh, that guy just torques me off. Well, what is it about them that torques you off? I don't know. They just do. And I couldn't leave the bear alone, so I had to poke and prod and figure out what's going on. And finally it came out, something silly like, well, they were wearing a certain type of hat, and I don't like that. I'm like, you really? Your whole night got ruined because you saw them wearing a hat that reminded you of something that you don't like. Wow, I guess I didn't realize that. Well, yeah, and here you are. And here we are today. You're having a meltdown and you didn't even know why. So there's chunking down, chunking up to different levels to figure out where are the values and criteria coming in, how long have they been there, how important are they to hang on to, how can you modify them if you want to. And especially when it comes around to family and friends and people that that chances are, after you've been around them a while, that if it takes one or the other, if it takes you or them to change, it's going to have to be you, because their mind is just like cement. It's all mixed up and permanently set. And it's going to take a big chisel to even make a dent, and the amount of work that it's going to take to chisel that out of that chunk of cement sometimes just ain't worth it. Yes, Lenora.
So for me, this one resonates quite a bit, especially because I didn't realize that I was putting my expectations of how I think people should respond onto them. I did not even, it did not even register. And I would think like, why aren't they doing X, Y, and Z? And I finally came to the conclusion that they're not meeting my expectations, my values, my criteria. And when it's with people that are very close to you, I found out that you, as upsetting as it is, and as many times as I turn them to a drunk meth head on the street, it wouldn't quite stick. And I could hold that for a period of time. But what I actually ended up finding was that I had to acknowledge and realize and come to the conclusion and to quite literally grieve that they will not meet my expectations. And that's on me and dealing with that. So that was something that I found to be, for as in front of my face as it was, I had no idea it was there. And it was just a very different way of understanding and coming to the conclusion that, yes, I'm the one that has to change my expectation, and to acknowledge that, and to also acknowledge that in all the ways that I have acknowledged that.
And that's awesome, because I know from experience, it's not the easiest route to go. I know, been there, done that, still got the scar. But with what you've been able to accomplish through that, what has that done for you, if I may ask?
It's done a lot of things. Very, very, very many. And it just is reinforcing the complete demolition of a box that people tried to put me in and their expectations of me.
Yeah. And the cool part about that, sometimes their values and criteria get violated because you won't go in that little box I made for you back in the day. And you're like, I don't even fit in that box anymore. That was, you no, that little thing. No, I don't fit in there anymore. I've lived, I've traveled, I've learned, I've experienced. You don't have a box I fit in anymore. And if you did, I'm not a box person anymore. Just not. I'm not. People that know me, people that have known me long enough, no, I'm not a box person. I don't fit in boxes very well. And I used to feel bad about that. And now I'm just like, don't try it. It's a waste of your time and energy. You put me in whatever box you want, but it'll be your box and I won't get in. So I hate that. I've often said that expression, think outside the box. Hate that. Why is there a box? Box just shows limitations. Blow up the flipping box and think. And some people are like, dude, some of your thoughts are like, psh. I'm like, yeah, because there's no box. My squirrels come and go as they please. And those that know me, I've got a lot of squirrels.
This had me thinking about some things. One of the first thoughts that came to my mind in this discussion is just the idea that we forget sometimes that relationships are negotiations, not dictatorships. So just because I have an expectation or criteria value of you, so the questions that I always like to ask myself is somebody violates your expectations. Question number one, did you even communicate that expectation? Because 90% of the stuff that people do that bother us, we didn't even communicate the expectation. How can we expect them to live up to it if they didn't even know we had it? They're just supposed to read our minds. And then number two is, even if I communicated it, did they accept it and agree to it? Because just because I think they should have this expectation, if they didn't say, yes, I agree to that. John Gottman talks about that 60% of the problems in relationships or the expectations of relationships, we're never going to resolve, we're never going to agree on. And we have to decide, are these the ones that matter? But the other 40% we can't resolve unless we discuss them and communicate them and agree on them. So anyway, yeah, just a couple thoughts that were running through my mind.
Awesome. I'm so glad you shared that. That is a great way to look at it. And that leaves us with 2 minis left in the first hour. So for those of you that were looking to get some tips and tricks on real estate and realtors, you're just going to have to tune in for another one. Any more input? And I suppose I should probably do a quick, for those of you that are watching YouTube and watching the recording, if you're still going, what are values and criteria? I should have started there. Values and criteria are the building blocks to the foundation for everything that we do, every choice we make, everything that's important to us, not important to us. Values and criteria. We can't pick food without values and criteria. We don't we certainly don't pick friends or partners without values and criteria. Oh my goodness. And so being it's that integral to everything that we do, that's where understanding how it works is so important for both sides. You want to be an amazing salesperson? Learn how to elicit values and criteria. What's important to you about? How will you know? You want to get really good in relationships? Learn their values and criteria and realize if you violate them, that is no bueno, no good. And the more you understand about your values and criteria, the better you can have control over who gets to violate them and how. It's really hard for somebody to violate your values and criteria when you know what they are and how much authority you give to the other people. Like I use for an example all the time, people who have had their values and criteria really violated, and I'll ask them, well, what if it was a drunk homeless meth head on the sidewalk that said that to you? And all of a sudden they're like, whatever, because you don't give that person any authority, any ruling, any whatever. And so when you look at who has the power, why do they have that power? Have they deserved or earned that power? And it doesn't matter if they're lifelong friends or if they're blood family. You get to decide how much of the power they actually have earned and deserve. There are some old friends and some crazy family members, we all got one, that will say something and you'll be like, whatever. And then we've got the other old friends and family members that will say the exact same thing, and we won't be able to sleep that night. Because we forgot that we're the ones that give them the power. They're not losing sleep. They're sleeping just fine. I found that a majority of the time, they didn't even know they torqued you off. And the ones that really don't deserve the power are the ones that knew it torqued you off and liked it. That's when you bring them into your little mind realm and you torch them. Like, you know that thing you said to me that you thought was really funny? Here, hold this grenade. Ah. No, there weren't. And for those of you that are like, oh my God, a grenade. It's just a metaphor. Nobody got hurt. No grenades went off. Everything's fine. Stop typing. I know, I just violated your values and criteria about handing grenades to people. That's how it works. Yes, mushroom cloud. Boom. And that takes us 4 minutes into your guys' time. So I didn't notice any questions being typed into the chat. So now we get to play patient squirrel. Who's first? Lenora? I saw that hand go up. Mike's up.
I didn't know if anybody else was popping on, but I did have a question for the group. How do you build ongoing trust with yourself, and whether you want to call it God, the universe, non-physical, whichever label you would like to use? How do you continue to build it?
Okay, kids, you're up. Savo?
Hi. I think, have you read the book 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson? How he says,
Pieces
there's
of it.
another one that came up now, like additional 12 rules.
It's like
but-
another 12, yeah.
Right. It's like that's like New Testament by Jordan Peterson. Anyway, in his old book, he says always say the truth, or at least don't lie. And I think,
I
yeah,
love that one.
that's my favorite, because and he also talks about you make a bed in the morning and little things like that, and you really build that trust. My old mentor, he used to say something like, I'm just gonna have a sip of water. And then he would literally say these little things throughout the seminar, and then he would do them. And then I said, because I noticed these things, I came up and I said, Rick, let me ask you a question. Why do you do these things? Why do you do this to build rapport with audience, or what's the purpose? And I was most certainly certain that he's going to say, yeah, it's because I want to build rapport with audience. But he said, I build rapport with myself. I want my unconscious to trust me. And I take these little incremental improvements every single day. I say to myself, I'm going to do this right before I do it. And if I'm not going to do something, I just say, yeah, I'm not going to do it now. And it's just something really interesting to me when it comes to that, just honoring your integrity and the truth, just being truthful with yourself and obviously other people, because you can't lie to other people and not, even if nobody sees, if you do something that's not right, let's say old lady spills, she drops bag of groceries, and if you go and help this lady because you want to be seen, and then your self-worth is just in the eyes of other people. But if you help this old lady because it's the right thing to do, that's what builds your confidence, and then you really appreciate yourself. Like that's how I don't know if I share this, but that's how Jesus came to his apostles, and he just says, come with me, and they followed. And the question was, why did they follow? And the answer was, for all that he was, that he didn't have to say. And so when you have that certainty in yourself, with like starting from little things, they build up, and then there's like 100 different muscles in your face, and every single one of them shows your true colors. And then just your personality, your charisma, everything gets so much better. But everything starts with incremental improvements without judgment. So acceptance, that's my answer to that.
Awesome answer. And I got to deliver something a squirrel just brought up. What is one of the common things that people use that chip away at their self-trust? And when I first heard it, it caught me off guard. Believe it or not, the snooze button. Because we set the alarm with the promise that we're going to get up at 6 o'clock. And the alarm goes off when we said we were going to get up. And we go, yeah, no. And then the alarm goes, hey, it's been 10 minutes. Yeah, no. And we get into the habit. And one of my mentors said, if that's all you're going to do, either set the clock for when you are actually going to get your butt out of bed, or get rid of the darn clock. Because all you're doing is reaffirming that you lie to yourself every night and confirm it every morning. I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. because I'm going to go to the gym and work out. And 6 a.m. shows up, and the other side of you goes, not today. And after a couple of days, when you're setting that clock at night, what's your subconscious telling you? I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. and go to the gym. No, you're not. Stop lying. You lie to us every night. We get all excited, and have we been there yet? No. Just stop interrupting our sleep, because you don't get up till 8 anyway. Don't set the flipping alarm for 6. Set it for 8. Don't be late. Leave the snooze alone. Thank you, Squirrel. Yes, Holly.
I'll jump in. I think there are kind of two elements. The first element I think has been covered very, very well, of the follow through on what you say you're going to do kind of thing. But I'm just thinking, when we build trust with other people, how do we do it? One could be follow through on our word, but another one is, listening to them. And how do we listen to them? Through the echo technique, through eliciting their criteria and values. And so the thought keeps coming to me is, part of the reason we need to build trust with ourselves is because we have different parts of ourselves. And do we take the time to really listen to ourselves and get to know ourselves? When's the last time you echoed yourself? When's the last time you took the time to drill down to your criteria and values? I know we kind of discussed this one on a previous call. I actually had a dream last night. I was dreaming of a memory of back when I was taking SSRIs, because they kept prescribing those to me and they were doing horrible things to me. And I'd completely forgotten about this, but they were so bad that my subconscious mind would literally shake and try to stop me from physically being able to put the pill in my mouth. And I just was thinking, what was different about me back then versus now is, now my conscious mind, instead of forcing and shoving that pill in my mouth anyway, would have asked my subconscious mind, hey, are you trying to tell me something? What's your criteria and values? Why are you doing this? Are you seeing something that my conscious mind is not seeing? And so having that moment of just saying, I'm going to check in with my gut, I'm going to check in with my heart, I'm going to check in with my brain, and let all three have a chance to talk and see what's going on before I make a decision. Just being heard, even if you don't decide to go with it, just getting the chance to say what's on your mind to build trust, because you at least feel like your feelings, your opinions, whatever you're seeing was taken into account in the final decision that was made, if that makes any sense.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
I have a question for the group. I wonder if someone can give me advice on, it's not really related to what we talked about, but I'm starting this new YouTube channel, and I was the reason why I'm starting the new one is because my old YouTube channel is basically, long story short, I have my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Savo, and it has about 65,000 subscribers. I used that one for a few years, but now, since most of it was in a different language, those people are not. Now, most of the stuff that I do now is in English, and so my videos are getting kind of flagged, and they're not getting many views. Even though they're better videos than they used to be, because my subscribers are not listening, because some of them just don't understand English, most of them. And so that's why I started a new channel just today. And so Now, this is my idea, and I hope that some of you, especially you, TJ, because obviously you're an expert on videos and YouTube and all that. Come on, like I've seen you with David. You do magical stuff. So I really want your advice here. So look, brother, this is and the rest of you, if you have an idea. So I do mixed martial arts, and I never really wanted to record videos about mixed martial arts. It's almost like I suppress that part of myself. And most of the things I do is, counseling, talking to people, hypnotherapy, NLP, cognitive behavior therapy. And so now I started to think about this option today when I started this channel. It's I named it Supreme Confidence, and I'm thinking about how could I possibly just integrate all these different parts of myself. One of them being I used to be a professional fighter for many years. As some of you may know, I was world champion 2 times. That's probably why I got a lot of subscribers from the past on the old channel. And so now I'm trying to incorporate that with all the knowledge in psychology I acquired in the last 10 years. So the idea is the only thing that I can see that being related is confidence. But I feel afraid. I've never seen anybody kind of like incorporating all of that together. And what are people going to think? Like I'm posting too many different topics on the same YouTube channel, and any advice on just in general, what do you think? What can I do with that?
I'll pop in. I think that you should absolutely integrate all of them. And in the intro, as you have this intro into your YouTube channel, every time you run the thumbnail, run different flashes of the things that you do, because you have so many fantastic things that you've experienced in your life and that you get to share with everybody. This is how I got confidence here. This is how I built my skills here. This is what I did here. This is how I help my clients here. You have such this beautiful blend that it will come together through your stories. But I absolutely would not separate and divide, because there's so many fantastic things in all of you.
So as a woman, do you think that some people would get a little sort of not afraid, but maybe afraid or skeptical to see, let's say, some self-defense moves and on the mat, and then talking about spirituality like we do on this on TJ's webinar?
For me, I think there's so many different layers, and it would truly be how the like, if you're going to flash a picture of it, what are you doing in that picture? Because self-defense, you're not going up to somebody and just beating them up on the street. You're teaching actual skills
Right.
that are incredibly valuable. And as a female, I would say, okay, he knows what he's talking about. Clearly world-class champion, and that's amazing. So let me learn from him. And to weave your stories in that way may be really, really helpful, because you are very warm, very welcoming. Naturally, you don't come across as somebody who is going to be aggressive unless provoked. You don't just naturally come across like
Right.
that from the few weeks that I've known you, Savo.
Fran.
Thank you.
Right. Well, I'm so excited by this topic, because to me, it all meshes beautifully. And I mean, at a very lowly level, I've been a martial artist myself. And to me, the spirituality comes into it. And it just rounds the picture. I think it's wonderful. This is what attracted me to David Snyder in the first place, seeing his martial arts and his hypnosis and the energetic and spiritual aspects to it. It's all meshes in beautifully. Go for it.
Elijah. By the way, thank you, Fran. Appreciate that.
Okay. Savo, if you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come. And if some people don't like a combination, then they are not your audience. It's that simple. You got to do for you. Excuse me. You got to do what's right for you, and the people who are there for your message will be there regardless, right? So just do what you got to do, man, and you'll be up to and beyond 60,000 on the new channel before you know it, right?
I'm going to just jump in real fast. So I watched a lot of, YouTube channels and how to get a lot of subscribers. And I think there's a few different ways you can approach it. First of all, they do say that for YouTube channels, that if you make videos that are very, very different for very, very different audiences, that can impact how many subscribers you're going to get. So like, for instance, if say you absolutely love home cooking and you're also into, tips about how to fix your house. They're both great topics. But if you do a whole bunch of home cooking videos and then do some home repair videos and your target audience doesn't watch it, it will drop you in the ratings on YouTube. So there's a couple ways you can do that. One, if they're very different videos, like for instance, if you were doing a self-defense and you were going into techniques and that's all it was, you can have two different channels. Or you could say, you know what, this is what I love. And doing what I love matters more than optimizing the YouTube algorithm. But I will also say the third thing is if you're doing them so that the videos are to the same audience, they will work. So if you're doing self-defense and it's all about self-confidence, and as long as you're tying them together and the same audience is getting good takeaways, that is what's going to matter. So just be thinking about who is my audience and will this speak to that audience? And if it helps, I have yet to find a self-help guru or somebody in this industry who doesn't incorporate self-defense into it. So they must go together in a very good way. So, but once again, it just kind of depends on your video. Like, is it just about the techniques or are you actually tying it together to get that takeaway? That's going to tell you if it's a different audience or the same audience. But once again, if you love it, that's going to matter way more than anything else. And people are going to feel that too. So if that helps.
And I had a little aha when you said the title. You were talking about what you wanted to do. I think it would be really cool if you could go out in public and ask as many random people as possible, what is their definition of supreme confidence? And just see what that title pulls out of people. And then, like Lenora pointed out, if you did just a little intro blurb that you could tag into the front of your videos and have some pull out some footage of you in the ring, pull out some pictures of you with your trophies, with your wins, and then have some pictures of you at some of the NLP trainings and things like that. And for fun, just put in like, yeah, I'm one of those big bad mixed martial arts guys, but I saved my brain. And now I'm out to help other people get strong and learn how to fight the fight of everyday language and interactions. And so my channel is going to teach you some self-defense of not only body, environment, but thinking and communication. And you put in a little twist like that, and when you put that type of an introduction on there, you can have a full mix of martial arts, self-defense, NLP, all of these things all on one channel. And the people that are full martial arts are going to click and love the ones that are heavy in that content. The ones that are heavy into NLP are going to, in like Fran pointed out, there's a lot of people that are into martial arts that are open-minded and into NLP. Trust me, I know. I've been in Planet David long enough to where I've seen the people that I've met, Master Chris Thomas, and a whole bunch of these other martial artists that are also open-minded into these other things. So I think you've got a very large niche group out there waiting for you to get going.
So what my understanding is that mainly, I need to connect that almost every single, not almost, but every video that has anything to do with martial arts or how to defend yourself is like, you got to connect that with confidence and the idea of the mind is body, and then also in description, I have to link those two things to where it just makes sense, so that niche can be wide enough to put that to be able to talk about both of those things.
Well, real quick, in just a sec, Lenora, how many people, especially those of us that work with people in change work, they're looking for lack of fear and how to control fear, and they're looking for confidence, and they're looking for strength, and they're looking for all of these items. And so you've got a realm where you can twist and turn and intertwine and mix and combine and do all of these things. And you've reached a pinnacle that very few people have. You're one of the few top level MMA fighters that I know, and I know a lot of people. So that gives you credibility with people that have never met you. Lenora.
I was going to say, especially, your mission, that you really just need one good line that says helping you build confidence in body, mind, and spirit, or helping you build confidence mentally, physically, spiritually, linguistically, whatever trifecta you want to use when it comes to that. But we are connected. It's a mind-body component, and to be able to use the energy within us to come out into the world, I'm definitely combine them. And here's another thing, Savo. So I have a speech pathology degree. So I'm a speech therapist by trade, and I could not figure out for the life of me how I was going to combine hypnosis and NLP and speech therapy. Could not figure it out. And then I think it was TJ who kept breaking it down. And he goes, I fixed language, and it all came together in just bridging that sentence of making cohesive sense. And he took something that took me a decade to try and come up with, and he was like, boom. And now we know how he has his hairline.
You threw me the ingredients. I just mixed them up and showed them to you. Fran.
Okay, I'm going to jump in now. I just think it's a wonderful niche that you actually have to give people your process when you're about to go into the ring, how you manage your own state control and how this relates to the hypnosis. This is what people want. Like TJ said, or somebody said, people need to learn to be brave. They want that courage. They want the skills that you've got. And if you need to identify different parts of your YouTube channel, maybe you can even have different tabs that relate to different parts. So people, if they have a particular interest, can look at this part or the other part or link them across. I think it is so rich that people just need to know how you get yourself into state to fight, how you manage your courage and calmness, how you keep your focus. All these are just so valuable and so cross-relate to your more mainline NLP and hypno work.
Elijah put up there, it's as simple as creating playlists. Yes, I'm jealously impressed because you have a great format to play on.
Thank you guys so much. Really, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, my squirrels are running like crazy. They're jumping tree to tree. They're like, oh, well, how do you put a bad thought into a chokehold? You're like, first, let me show you what a chokehold looks like on a person. And now when this thought comes across, you can go, yeah, I don't think so. Put it in a chokehold. And
I can't wait to hear all the things you're going to be able to put up on your channel. I really want to hear it now.
cool. Well, we've got 29 minutes left. What else we got? I love this part of the show. Come on. Really?
I'm still stuck on Savo's content.
I know.
Okay, I just want to share one more thing, because for a very long time I was feeling it's not okay to share what I do, because people just think, oh, you just do, jack of all trades is master of none, and they try to put you in a box like DJ was talking about earlier. So and this is the crazy part, the part where people go, no, you can't be committed to all the things that you do. About 10 years ago, I don't know, maybe TJ, probably David Snyder was here at my place a month ago. He came by. I also own a car dealership. 10 years ago, when I stopped with martial arts, I took all the money I made from martial arts, invested in car dealership, and then it took off. And now, of about 10 employees, and my brother manages for the most part. I only spend about a couple hours a day. But then I feel like I can't say that. I can't say that I have a car dealership, because as soon as I do, there's just a bunch of new labels that come on, right there on my forehead. He's a salesman. He is a sleazy salesman. He's who knows how he made the money, and it's just so that's the part that I probably should never mention, that I run a business, which I really don't spend much time doing. But again, that would probably, honestly, if you look from the eyes of a neutral person who doesn't know me, like we talk weekly, and so TJ, we know each other personally. So if you look at it from a perspective of someone on in YouTube, I really have to. I feel like I have to kind of a little more kind of sharpen my niche and not. Okay, well, business, I feel like I'm not going to bring up ever in a conversation like that. But martial arts, maybe, I don't know. I'm confused. That's why I was so confused. And before this talk, I just wanted to share what I have in my head, and hopefully some of you might be able to give me some advice.
Hands are flying up like crazy. So Holly.
I say you're going to get all of us going. The first thing I would say is don't worry about any aspect of yourself. Everything you're saying, I'm finding, are things that are fascinating about you. And, you know, all of us could say, oh, yeah, there's somebody who could judge me about this. There's somebody who's going to be confused about this. But, you know, everything you're talking about has also a common theme. But that common theme is just a marketing ploy. It's just a, you know, optimizing YouTube's algorithm. It doesn't really matter that much. But, you know, I hear somebody who is a business owner, you know, not, oh, sleazy salesman. Because, I mean, and there are sleazy salesmen, and there are people who see all salesmen as sleazy. But there are also great salesmen who are not sleazy. But I see somebody who, yeah, is proven it, you know, being able to, in the ring, being able to fight, but also somebody who is able to prove it in the world of business, and also somebody who has been able to go out there and learn, you know, with the mind to be able to master language. This is just somebody
So
who...
honestly, Holly, since you already know quite a bit about, you mentioned that you were looking into how to have more subscribers and how to build your channel and stuff. So honestly, what do you think if I do mention that I am a businessman and I have my business? I mean, people can go online and find, we have really good reputation. So is that something that you think will actually bring up the value of, or you think it would bring it down? Honestly, what do you think? Because people come in with intention to get what they want, which is confidence at that moment. But if I ever bring that up and officially online, do you think that will, how would that influence me?
As long as you've got something that's bringing it together, which the word confidence is a great way to bring it together, it's going to help. It's going to improve it, because it's, hey, this is how you get confidence in the world of business. And here are the challenges. I'm a business owner. I went out there and proved there, and these are the challenges that made it difficult. These are the things that attacked my confidence in the business world. These are the things that attacked my confidence and improved my confidence in the ring. These are the things, if you've got that common thread, and people are going to, I think it's going to improve it knowing, hey, I didn't just prove this in just one area of my life. These are all of the lies. And I also didn't just learn lessons in one area of my life. I've learned lessons in all of these areas of my life. All of these things add to everything you're doing. The key is, you know, if you're teaching confidence here, and then, you know, you can have great videos on other things. It's just, is my target audience the same people? And I think it is. Because if confidence is the thing tying it all together, everything you're saying, and I'm guessing there are other parts of yourself you're holding back too. That anything that has to do with it could be anything that where you succeeded in confidence, but it can also be anywhere that you failed with confidence as well. Whether it's tiny, whether it's big, they're all part of who you are. They're the truth of who you are. And if you feel like you can only tell one part of yourself, you're not being honest, and people are going to feel that.
Right. That's so true. So if I can just tie it together through metaphors and stories about that specific topic, then that would probably be well.
Absolutely. And you can even just tell the stories as color to the side too, even if they don't tell that part. But yes, if they all lead to the same thing, definitely adds to the marketability, definitely adds to that harmonizing.
I'm just right now. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
No, I was just thinking about some of my mentors, like Dr. Bandler. I remember last time when I was assisting his seminar in Florida, he was talking about, it was his that was his 70th birthday, and he was telling us how about what he accomplished in the field of mathematics as a musician. He was talking about what else did he? Oh, his investments in oil, and then I was just we were just sitting and eating the cake and watching, and we were all amazed. And yeah, that just he brings it up in a very natural way. It's just through stories, and I was only feeling of myself as a potential, like there is a way that the people will probably judge because they have in the past, and maybe I really shouldn't care about that.
Maybe you should just focus on how it actually brings you as an open person, somebody who is so likable because you're being honest. Your honesty comes through when you share yourself like this, and sharing, like Holly was saying, the good stuff and the not so good stuff. It's your story. It's who you are. It's where you came from. It's how you are, who you are now, and why we should believe you, because you've been through all those steps and that you're multidimensional. When I first saw you, heard you, you had not got the dimensions that you have now. To see you as yourself now in this role, and then as an MMA fighter and as a car salesman who, you know, you'd worked hard and invested everything. You put it all on the line with this business, and you had to make it work, and you had to make it work as an honest and ethical business. You're telling your story, you're showing who you are, and it's beautiful. Don't ever be ashamed of who you are or hide who you are. It's precious. It really is all precious. We love you because you've shared.
I cannot agree more with everybody on this platform right now. Absolutely. And Savo, it comes down also to your language, the fact that you're openly talking about the experiences that you had, because it makes you more relatable to say, this is what I did, this is where I felt that I wasn't confident, and this is how I navigated through it, because people can then see parts of themselves in you, and it resonates quite literally so much deeper, quite literally as it is in this conversation. It goes so much deeper, and that's why people will continue to be drawn to you, because from that place, you're coming from a sincere place of, this is what I did. I also help people do it, and here are the techniques that I do. And it's this beautiful back and forth of sharing your stories. And if you don't like the title of a businessman or a car salesman, if you don't like that, just reframe it. CEO of a business. Reframe it to one that you feel really, hey, I do like that, or I don't like that one, and massage that and use it as clay and bring it into formation from that standpoint. And you clearly are a specialist in the linguistics areas.
Be
Hey,
proud of
Savo.
who you are.
Hey,
Including-
Savo. Savo,
Yes.
I've got a question for you.
Mhm.
Do you have an issue with the sleazy salesmen that give it a bad name?
Okay, this is where the problem comes from. It's a great question. Look, on my old channel, this is just, oh man. So one day I decided to make a video. Most of the topics on my old channel were about psychology, self-improvement, and just things like that. And then one day I decided to, a lot of friends would ask me, they would call me and say, how do I check the car before I buy it? And, I bought this piece of shit, and what should I do? I said, like, you should call me earlier next time. And so they would just mess up, and then I was like, okay, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna make this video, I'm gonna make it private, and I can only send it to people who need to know how to check their car. And I made the video 15 minutes, and I kind of like had the list of all the things you need to know about when you buy a car. So it's like, checking engine, transmission, structural damage, all the scout to scan the car and just check oil leaks, if it makes noise, a million things, right? But it was very succinct. And that's what I do for you used to work for a car dealership. We go to the auction, sometimes we buy like 30 cars a day, so you got to buy them quick. And so what I did is I did it pretty well, and my knowledge about videos is not as, the camera and stuff, not as good as yours, but I made it pretty decent. And then I decided one day, I said, fuck it, I'm just going to share this video. I shared the video, boom, million views, and I got a lot of subscribers from there. Okay. A lot of my subscribers came from that video, like how to buy a used car. And then those people, when they saw psychology videos, they're like, what, I don't want to hear about this. I want to know how to, know if miles are rolled back on the car and something like that. And I just said, like, I don't want to talk about that. That doesn't inspire me. This was just a one-time thing. And so, but there was a lot of criticism, people who like deal with cars, they were telling me that I should just do cars. And I am not, especially because you don't make any money. I mean, it's just, YouTube is just whatever, free. Like, I don't know if I ever monetized it. It's stupid. I mean,
The reason I asked that question is because you have the ability to talk about self-defense and psychology from a salesman, a car salesman angle as well. I know, because I've had to do that. I've done it right here in Triple T. In fact, I think the first one you kicked in, how many things did I talk about with cars and values and criteria and echo talk and mirroring, and that was all about car sales, because it's something that such a huge portion of the world's population, if they haven't owned a car or 2 or 12, they know somebody who has. And if they didn't have a bad experience, they know somebody who has. And so that is another one of those avenues that there are so many people that can relate to it. Just like, again, with your MMA, even people who have never taken martial arts, there's an interest about it. I mean, you got to admit, there's a ton of people that are tuning in to MMA pay-per-view who've never studied, they've never been to a dojo in person, but they watch it. And you have the perfect ability now to make all these metaphors and stories and go through with all of the other stuff and bring in if you look at it as though you're bringing in all of these different groups into one location.
Guys, thank you so much. What I'm gonna do, I think, because you're probably gonna have this video on YouTube, so I'm gonna download it and then watch it again. Yeah.
It'll be on, and my famous point, and it'll be on my YouTube channel, TSWB Helps. It's number 67.
I think Elijah's got his hand up.
Hey, Elijah.
Or are we just really excited?
I waited so patiently. I've been bursting for the last 20 minutes.
His arm's asleep.
Savo. Hello, Savo. Welcome. Hello from London in the middle of the night. So I'm curious, if I wanted to launch a YouTube channel and I was unsure if the various content I wanted to release about me and the common threads that I like, the various things that I like and the common thread therein. And I was a little bit unsure about how to do that. And I was a little bit apprehensive perhaps how it would be received, because there's a wide range there and other people might not see the connecting threads immediately. How would you coach me to be more confident?
Well, first the question would be, is that the right thing? Because you want to make the right decision. And I don't think it's about being confident, because if you have a crazy person, a terrorist, and you make him confident, that you have a very dangerous guy. So I think this part is more about getting advice from professionals, and I honestly feel confident, and that's one thing that about me that I never had problems with all my life. I was in a cage with the craziest people who train all their life, and they only do that to hurt you. And I would go there. First when I started the business,
Wait. You said confidence is not your problem in this regard. I'm curious. Are you confident about that?
Am I confident that
confidence
confidence is not my problem?
Right.
Well, that question, it has a big implication to it, but I'm going to reverse it and unpack it if that's okay with you. So
please.
Yeah. So basically, the confidence about starting the channel and talking about multiple topics is not an issue. The issue is that something that will be worthwhile? Is that something that's going to be, is this a smart or stupid? That's really it in a nutshell. Is that something that, because I've never seen anybody, I can't model anybody. And if it's a stupid idea, I'll tell you what, I don't want to have confidence about it because I don't want to jump into something that's stupid. But if it's smart, then yes, I'm all in. And once I'm all in, I'm going to fight tooth and nail to get to.
So when just, I hate to be pedantic about this. I really do. You're kind of forcing my hand here, dude. When the Wright brothers said they're going to invent an airplane, do you think people thought it was crazy and stupid?
Say it again.
Just when the Wright brothers decided they're going to invent the airplane and and have man fly across the ocean, do you think that other people thought that it was a crazy and stupid idea?
Some people did, and that's why I'm not talking to just anybody. I decided to talk to you guys tonight.
Right.
We
So
support you.
even if somebody thinks the idea is crazy and stupid, it could, over time, prove to be still correct.
Oh, absolutely. It goes both ways.
And how would you find out if it was or wasn't?
You got to do it. If it makes enough sense.
Okay.
If it makes enough sense.
So I'm curious. So when you said, here's, you were telling a story about you had this channel about psychology and mental improvement and all kinds of various stuff, and then you did this one odd video about how to pick out a used car, and that got you lots of traction and lots of subscribers, and people were like, hey, I want this content. How did you feel about that when they had that pushback against, like, well, this is not what I'm here for, and so I'm going to subscribe or whatever? How did that make you feel?
Can you just repeat the last part? It's a little windy.
I said, apologies. I was saying, when you got that pushback from the people who wanted more videos about cars, saying, well, this is not what I'm looking for. This content on the channel is not what I'm looking for. I came looking for X, Y, Z, and that's not what you're doing. Because, and you explain to them that it's not interesting you or whatever, but that you had that kind of pushback. That, oh, this is not what I came here for. How did that make you feel?
Well, that made me feel as I'm doing something. Giving my time, putting my effort, not appreciative. That's how I felt. I felt that I'm just working and doing something, just giving my own time. And I wasn't even teaching seminars at the time or anything. And I just felt like, why the hell, what am I doing this for?
How do you know if you're not appreciated? How do you know when you're not appreciated?
How do I know?
Yeah, when you're not appreciated.
Well, let's say you come to see me and I give you a session for free, and I say, well, go give it a try and see how it works, and then you leave, and then you leave me bad review for the free session, you know, and then I would know I'm not appreciative. I'm not appreciative if my effort is not, it's like breathing, you breathe out and you breathe in, you give and you receive. And if you don't receive as not as near as much as you give, then it's not.
Okay. And do you think that everybody automatically recognizes just how much effort you put in? Or do you think it's something that they possibly don't know how much effort you put in? And so maybe you're feeling unappreciated when that's not what they meant. Is that possible?
It's possible, but I honestly think it's not about them. It's up to me. And
very good, very good. Carry on. It's up to you. Yes, carry on. So what is it that you're deciding in that moment when you feel unappreciated?
What is that
and what is it that you are deciding in that moment when you feel unappreciated? And what are you focusing on when deciding that?
I was thinking some of these people are not worth my time. But then yet when I stopped and I erased some of the videos, then I got so many messages on my Instagram saying like, why did you erase the videos? So I would say over 95% of people just love the content at that time. And but yeah, I really honestly
think, so taking that into account, what you just said, that majority of people like the content and there were a few who spoke out against it. Sometimes, you know, we say, if you have nothing good to say, you should just stay quiet. Unfortunately, on the internet, it's the other way around. All the people that have good things to say, they often will say nothing or just put their thumbs up by it. And it's the people who are upset they get in the comments. Right? So how can you apply everything you've just said to me to this idea of creating a new, continuing with what to choose to put on the channel that you created today?
You know, the part that we are talking about, this is emotional part, and I'm a therapist. I see so many people that part I'm pretty clear on, to be honest with you, and I really appreciate your input highly, truly, deeply. The most, and since we're coming to the end, I don't want TJ to go over time. What I really received, and it was a great insight for me, is one of the things that Holly said tonight, and I never spoke to her before, but it was really interesting. What she said is like, and TJ, when he said tie it down to confidence, because my problem was not really going out there and presenting. I talked in front of 300 people. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is not confidence to go into that, obviously. My problem was just not having the clear understanding. And then when TJ and Holly and Lenora said that, okay, well, tell stories about that and put them into that. Have a good day, and put them all time down with confidence topic. I think that's what I needed to hear. That just makes more sense. That I don't just go chasing squirrels talking about these things and that just interest me, but not people who come in. I want people to have value and want my audience to come there and to get that specific thing what they came for, which is self-esteem and confidence. Because I truly deeply believe, and you know this as a therapist too, that most of our problems start from a low self-esteem beliefs like I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I'm not lovable, I'm different, therefore I can't connect. And if I can just give people that ability to just see themselves as look at themselves as their dog looks at them, then maybe I'm going to bring some value. Maybe there is going to be some more of a purpose in my life besides my family, and that's really what I'm looking for.
Okay, I'm satisfied with that response. Thank you.
Well, kids, that brings us up to 1 minute before the time is up. And Savo, I think you're going to have to watch the recording of this and pay attention to how many bright smiling faces are here, how many people are nodding, how much we absolutely fully endorse back and all the above. Throw everything that you got out onto that channel. Wrap it up in as many metaphors and stories as possible. I've been around you, dude. You've got the knowledge. You're like me. You've got, I did this, I did this, I did this. I've got this story. I've been here. I've done this. I've met that. And you start wrapping up those stories into packages and throwing them out, people are going to eat them up. And I want you to also go back to the recording, and in the comments, I would like you to put in your YouTube channel so that when people watch this, they know how to find it. And I just love watching you and Elijah. Folks, if you've never really understood NLP, you just watch two NLP people bouncing back and forth. And for those of us that study NLP, it was very entertaining in the best way. That's what I love about this tribe, about the group, the people that have come together. I feel so privileged and so honored every week to have you guys show up and grace this platform, because just like you were talking, Savo, I did not have any confidence in the ability of this platform before I started. I've said it many times. I put it off for 3 years because I didn't think I would have enough content to make 3 recordings. Here we are on number 67. So you can do it. And I appreciate you coming here and sharing your time and knowledge, all of you guys. What do I say every week? Time is the one thing that I cannot create and give back to you. And for you guys to take your precious commodity out of your life and share it with me and share it with the people on YouTube and allow this to be created means more to me than I have the vocabulary to express. So we'll close up number 67 with a little bow. I will tell you guys how much I love and adore every one of you. Yes, you guys on YouTube. Hi, Mom. Love you. And I will see you guys back here in 7. So now take care. Be well and go out and be nice to each other.
Good night, everybody.
Right back at you, Savo.
Great stuff, guys. Thank you.
Hi to TJ's mum. Thank you. That was a fabulous session.